Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest today is a nice lady that appeared on Fresh Perspectives back in the spring, and she is an author, a plant-based diet advocate, and a minister. Her name is Terri Groh. I'm sure everybody remembers you from the other time that you were on. We had a fun. I was just watching that episode again yesterday. I thought that turned out really good, and you have a really nice smile for television.
Thank you.
So, just so I don't forget later, those of you remember that she was talking about devotional books that she's written and a recipe book that she's written. So I'm going to ask you how they can see your YouTube programming and find your books.
Probably the easiest way to find that would be through my two websites. For the devotionals, I have a blog there that I write fairly regularly on and have some leadership resources for people in ministry, some devotionals, things like that. But that website is encouragingdeeproots.com. And if they go there, then that will take them to where they can purchase the books. It'll take them to a YouTube channel that I have there. But for the other book, for the recipe book, I have an actual whole separate website for that, for plant-based eating and ways to intersect our health with frugality, and that is called thefrugalconnection.com. And that is where they can find the link for this book and my YouTube channel through there, which also is just some videos where I walk through some recipes, show you how to make them, and talk about them there.
Oh yeah, I think maybe if people can actually see you preparing the food, it makes using your recipe book less intimidating.
Yeah, and that's some of the reasons that I started the website and the YouTube channel, which was very outside my comfort zone when I first started it. But it was, you know, the two things that I always hear from people when they talk about eating plant-based is that it's too complicated. The recipes are too hard to make. They're unusual ingredients, so they're not sure what to do with those. And also it's expensive. And so I wanted to show a way that you can make these recipes, and they're very easy. Takes only, I mean, most of the recipes I make are 15 minutes or less. It's a very inexpensive way of eating because I'm not purchasing all these fancy, processed vegan foods. I'm just using fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, whole grains.
The one thing that I find hard to get, and I've never actually had it, is the Indian black salt, so that you can make eggless salad sandwiches out of tofu instead of eggs. Indian black salt. A couple of the people that I know from our vegan group, they put that in their eggless salad sandwiches in the tofu mixture, and they taste really, really good because that black salt gives it kind of an eggy taste.
Okay.
So
yeah, I have never made that, nor have I ever used that. I would imagine if you can't find it locally, if you went on like Amazon or Penzi spices, might be an option. I'm not a big fan of egg salad, so that's not a recipe that I would probably ever eat.
Well, I thought that, maybe it might have tasted better if I'd had that black salt, but, so it didn't really taste the way I wanted it to, but.
Yeah, that's some of the recipes, it's very easy to, like some are, I think, easily adaptable, given our taste buds for certain things. Others, not so much. Like I remember making something I called Alfredo something with Alfredo sauce. And my son tried it, and he was like, Mom, don't call it Alfredo sauce. He goes, this is not Alfredo sauce. So it's definitely an adjustment, but I think the food I make is very, it tastes very good. It's very similar to what we're used to eating. So I don't necessarily veer too far off that.
Yeah, usually people seem to like what I make if they try it. I remember on my mother's side of the family, since COVID, we've gotten away from doing it. We used to, the first Sunday of August every year, have a reunion with my mother's side of the family. And I would have to bring something because there'd be a lot of stuff there. You know, being on the diet that I'm on, us vegans have to take care. No, we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But do you think any of the other relatives would eat it? You know, on the other hand, when we had a reunion back in 2019 with my dad's side of the family, they were eating my bean recipe and my brownies that I made.
Yeah,
so
I think it depends on whether somebody's adventurous or not. Like, I've always just loved a variety of food. We, often ate meatless meals a couple times a week. So it wasn't a big stretch for me to try this. And I love experimenting in the kitchen. I love to cook. I love to create recipes. I've always done that even before I ate a plant-based diet. And people have always commented how delicious my food is. So I wanted to make this taste delicious. And so when I first started eating this way, I would follow a recipe exactly. And then I started playing around with stuff and making it my own and spicing things up the way I like things to taste. And
usually like 3-bean salad recipes and like that usually call for like some olive oil or something. But somewhere along the line, my husband and I discovered that we didn't like that oiliness.
Yeah.
So now we make it without the oil. I've gotten so I don't like oily foods.
Yeah. Your taste buds adjust to that. And some of those recipes don't require a lot of oil anyway, and it's easy to leave it out because it's not heavy on the oil. So like I think 3-bean salad would be one of those things where it might just call for a couple of tablespoons of oil. So I just leave that out.
Yeah, I don't remember I haven't made it that way in such a long time. I don't even remember how much the recipe called for. By the way, as long as this episode is going to start airing today, and as long as it's going to be airing before tomorrow, I'm going to make an announcement that our Vegetarian Vegan Society dinner is tomorrow, Sunday, July 25th, at the Lakeside Park here in Mayville. We're planning on having it as a picnic unless it gets real smoky again. Okay. There's I didn't know it, but they have a newer pavilion there now. Back in the spring, when I was reserving it, I thought I was reserving this one that's more like in a building where you can close things up if the weather gets bad. And I didn't. And the girl that I talked to on the phone at the time didn't tell me that there was now another pavilion there.
Okay.
I just found out this week. I think it was Thursday or something like that. No, it was Wednesday. My husband and I drove over to the park and noticed that something looked a bit weird. So anyways, you people are welcome to come tomorrow at 1 o'clock to the Mayville Lakeside Park if you want to have a picnic with us. We're gonna serve plant-based hot dogs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and we're getting blueberries off the blueberry bushes in our yard now, so I'm bringing homemade blueberry crisp. So
Sounds delicious.
yeah, they always like that. The people in our group, they like that blueberry crisp when I bring it. So, and then Mary and Joanne, I know, will bring something outstanding as usual.
They're good cooks.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they really, for people who haven't been doing it for 30 years, they really got the hang of it quick.
Yeah.
They really did. So I hope you can come. Do you think there's a possibility?
I have to double check with my husband because I didn't realize it was tomorrow. So
Oh.
I'm gonna see if what
They didn't put you on their email list?
they did, but I think at the time when they originally asked me, whatever date they had said, I didn't think I could make it that day because I thought we were going to be on vacation.
Oh,
and
okay.
then because I didn't think I could make it, I didn't get it on my calendar and actually forgot that it's tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'm going to check.
Well, you're welcome to come if you find out you can.
Yeah. I enjoyed the last one I was at. It was
yes,
really nice.
yes.
Yeah.
They're always a lot of fun, and one of the things that I like about it is the food that I bring actually gets eaten, not like my relatives.
Yeah.
I mean, you bring the plant-based foods, and people eat vegetables anyway. But anyways, I wanted to bring that up. Now, I don't know because I haven't talked with you about it yet, but are you aware of the effect of animal agriculture on the environment and climate change? Have you looked into that at all?
A little bit, but not enough to be really knowledgeable about speaking on it so much, other than I do know that it does affect our environment, and it has changed things, but I honestly don't have a whole lot of knowledge in that area.
I do know a lot. I do know quite a bit, but I didn't take down any notes. But some things that I can mention is way too many trees get cut down to make pasture land for animals to graze on, and I mean, we need trees to provide oxygen for the planet.
Yeah.
And another thing is there's something about when a lot of cattle graze on land, it's at risk of becoming a desert.
Yeah.
And let's see, what was the other thing here? And then there's
Well, I think the methane gas that they
gas.
produce goes into the atmosphere, and it does change things. Yeah, and it's not so much the small farmers. I think it's more the big producers,
the big factory farms.
Yeah, the factory farms. Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then it uses an enormous amount of water too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, it just goes to show that everything we eat, everything that we do, affects other things, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
so yeah, so we think that, what does eating my little McDonald's hamburger have any effect on anything? You know what I mean? But it does on a larger scale.
and on your health too.
Right,
I think a
exactly.
lot of people think, if they maybe only do it once a week or something, they'll be okay. But I don't know. I think there's a cumulative effect, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that, for example, I'll use this as the example, like the latest thing that's in the news now about the outbreak of the bacteria that's spreading through from leafy greens and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody gets very worked up about this, and even myself, when it first came out in the news, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to eat? Because that's my primary source of, what I eat a lot every day. But then it just reinforced the idea of eating locally sourced foods.
Right, because it's more out west more.
Well, and they've since have traced it. From the last I understand, that it had to do with iceberg lettuce that's bagged that they've gotten from a different country. You know what I mean? So it just was just a good reminder to buy as much as possible. I know it's not possible all the time, but to support our local farmers and purchase, like I buy a lot of my produce from the local farms around here.
Oh yeah,
because you know your farmer, how they, ask those questions like, how do you fertilize? How do you do this? How do you, irrigate it?
My husband used to plant a super huge garden, and that was supposed to be for just us. But I swear to you, we could have fed an army with it.
My gardening skills with vegetable gardening have not been good. So I tried to do lettuce this year, and it was very pitiful.
Boy, he's cut back now that he's 78 years old now, and he's cut way back. But boy, did he ever keep me busy, over the years.
It's great if you can grow your own, and I think that's the best thing, because you know exactly what's going into it, right?
Yeah. And I was thinking too, because we've been eating local since this outbreak occurred, you know. So I'm thinking, well, we're probably okay now.
Yeah, and you kind of, you wash your vegetables when you get them, but I think we can also get so overly worked up, and 99% of the time it ends up being not as huge of a problem as they say. It's a few cases. I know they said it was 4,000, 5,000 cases of this, and I'm not saying it's not accurate. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of how many people are in the U.S., it's probably not as, it's a small percentage. And just, I just avoid the pre-bagged things because you don't know. They're getting lettuce from all over the place, so you don't know where it's coming from.
You don't know, but if you can get some local, that's the best thing. Or if you can even grow it in your garden.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, when my husband would plant lettuce over the years, it didn't come up, the lettuce he planted this year. But anyways, we'd have so much lettuce, we couldn't even eat it all.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Yeah. So anyways, I heard on the radio this morning, on National Public Radio, they were announcing that the Jamestown Farmers Market for today was being moved into a Methodist church.
No, it's the Episcopal, it's St. Luke's Episcopal Church. They moved it into the Undercroft, which is it's like the basement of the building where they had the winter market.
Oh, Presbyterian. I thought they were saying Methodist.
No, Episcopal. I'm
Episcopal.
sorry.
I wonder if they made a mistake and said Methodist.
They probably did, because it's always, all winter long, it's been held at St. Luke's in their Undercroft. And then they move outdoors for the summer, but because of the chance of thunderstorms and the smoke, they moved it indoors today.
Yeah, they did. So,
and they have a lot of great vendors there.
Yeah, I should go down to that one sometime. The closest one is the one in Westfield on Saturdays.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll go over there when I get finished here.
Yeah, and I think, don't they have a Saturday market in Mayville, down at the park? I know that they were advertising that they had a farmer's market. Or is it mostly artisans?
My husband and I paid a visit to the Office of the Aging up here in Mayville the other day, and that woman was saying they had to get rid of that one because there was something about an accident that occurred where somebody didn't have her car in park and it ran into some of the vendors' booths, and and caused some damage and stuff, and so
Okay.
that was kind of like the end of that.
Okay, so that must have happened recently. 'Cause-
I don't know when it was. I don't think it was this year. It
Oh, okay.
was the lady at the Office for the Aging was telling us about it, and she actually went and moved the woman's car and wouldn't let her have her keys back until the police got there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. So.
So anyway, they decided it probably wasn't a very good location.
Okay.
So anyways, okay. Well, I guess we probably talked enough about the environment. When I quit eating meat, I was 25 years old when I quit eating meat. It was at the same time I started practicing yoga.
Huh.
And that was highly recommended to me by yoga teachers. There's something about when an animal's being killed, it's alive long enough to know it's being killed, so a lot of adrenaline gets secreted.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like it affects something in the meat. But I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's kind of what I've heard that too.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, it gets secreted into the rest of their body. So if you want, when you're practicing yoga and you want to meditate, you can have trouble calming your mind on account of it. Now, when I was a young girl, like starting in 9th grade, I came down with a bad anxiety disorder. And at the age of 25, when I found yoga and I quit eating meat, I started getting better. People like my parents and like that were afraid I was going to get sick if I didn't eat meat. But actually, I got my problems under control. And eventually in my early 50s, I gave up the last little bit of dairy and like that I was eating, and I honestly feel better in my 70s than I did when I was in my teens and early 20s.
Yeah, and that's what I find for myself, that I'm much healthier than I was, before I started eating this way. I have a lot more energy. Some of it's losing a lot of weight too has definitely helped, but I definitely have, I don't know, I do feel healthy. I just had a physical last month and all my levels are normal, because they'll check things like my vitamin D, my B12, calcium, because I ask him to check those just to make sure. I take supplements.
Yeah,
but everything was normal, and
I've never been told by the medical profession that I have a deficiency of anything. And in fact, at the age of 76, this is my natural hair color still. And I have heard from different experts that gray hair is actually caused by a deficiency of certain nutrients. I can't tell you what they are, though, because I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that's holding my hair color. So.
Well, I'd like to say I don't have gray hair, but my hairdresser will tell you differently. So that hasn't helped my gray hair any.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but this is natural. What you're seeing, I don't diet or anything, and.
Well, and I always tell people, they'll ask me about eating this way and stuff, and I'll just tell them, it's not a magic pill. It's not going to solve everything, but at the same time, it does reverse a lot of issues. I've shared before, my blood pressure was high and it went down. I had gallbladder issues, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It reversed all those things. Does it mean I never get sick? No, I mean, I've had a cold or something here or there, but very,
Well-
very infrequently.
Well, you come in contact with germs.
Right.
So,
So because I just want to clarify that, because sometimes, I think we can think that, oh, if you eat this way, it's going to solve every problem you've ever had. And it doesn't, but it certainly helps a lot. And I think the main thing for me is just being the best version of me that I can be. Like, I'm not feeling super unhealthy. I'm not, dealing with knee issues anymore, all the things that I was struggling with. And so I'm able to do all the things that I want to do and have the energy to do them. And I feel really good. And so that's my main thing. I don't want to go back. After I've experienced all this, I definitely don't want to go back
Right,
to having
right.
all those issues that I had.
well, I remember I was 25 years old when I quit eating meat. And after about a year went by, and I noticed the changes in myself, it became an animal rights issue.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that.
I love animals. I have a very hard time harming anything, and that's just the way I've always been. I don't necessarily have a moral thing about not eating meat, you know what I mean? Like, because I know some people, it's because of animals that they choose to eat vegan.
Right, right.
That wasn't my reasoning behind it. Because I have friends that, they eat fairly healthy, but they eat meat, and so that's okay, you know what I mean? Like, I know that not everybody has that
Well,
same
they're
mindset. Yeah.
They're not going to change, just because you
Exactly,
say so.
exactly. So, but I certainly think that the way, and I have friends and family that are small farmers, and butcher meat or animals for meat. But I think that's a difference, than animals that are kept in cages, or just the big farms that it's just mistreatment of animals. I think there's some dignity in even when you raise an animal for meat, the way you do that, as opposed to some that, you've heard horror stories about, like, chickens that, millions of chickens shoved in a small coop.
Well, I've actually seen videos of what's going on.
Yeah, and I can't watch those videos.
Yeah, it's like, they're hard to watch, and I've seen it, and I know this is going on. I've got one video at home. I wish I could show it on Fresh Perspectives. It's one that Paul McCartney produced.
Okay.
He calls it Glass Walls. He says that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd all be vegetarian.
Yeah.
And it shows some horrific things.
Right, because there's dignity even in death. There's dignity. You know what I mean? That there should be. And I think the way that those slaughterhouses do things, it's not good. So for my friends that are farmers and stuff, I never want them to feel like I'm judging them for that. But I definitely think there's a difference.
You would not do it yourself.
Oh, no. I mean, my family it's a joke in my family. Like, the most bizarre animal stories happened to me, and we had these roosters. I bought 5 chickens for my daughter, who loved animals, and she's allergic to everything. So one year I worked in a kindergarten class teaching, and one of the other kindergarten teachers had hatched eggs in the classroom, so the kids could watch the whole process.
Oh, okay.
And so I asked her, I said, what are you going to do with the chicks when you're done? And she said, well, you can have some of them. And so she gave me 5, and I bought them as a birthday present for my daughter, who was allergic to everything. And so I bring these little chicks home, and she burst into tears, and she was so happy. So I thought, oh, this is a great present, because they can stay outdoors, so it won't bother her allergies. Well, one by one, those chicks were growing, and they started crowing. and I ended up
Uh-oh,
with
so-
5 roosters.
Oh, no.
And so, and I would, people would tell me all the time, you need to, like, I can tell you how to take care of those roosters, and
So you didn't get any eggs out?
I didn't get any eggs out of them, and I couldn't get rid of them because I didn't have the heart in me to do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
And so we kept the roosters. My daughter named them, and I wrote a bunch of little children's stories about them because they were quite humorous. But that's kind of the running joke in my family is like I can't even hurt anything. So yeah.
Yeah, so basically they lived till they died a natural
They did,
death?
and actually unfortunately one by one, because we live near near these woods where they're all kind of natural predators.
Oh, yeah.
So one by one they got picked off by other animals.
Oh,
So-
the predatory
Yeah,
animals.
so I mean, we had a raccoon that got one, and we had all kinds of animals on our property that would come onto the property. Mm-hmm. But
Well, I was helping a certain person. Well, I was helping a certain person who was somebody who had worked at the school in Mayville. I was helping him with his wife. The last 2 years she was alive. And he would tell me stories about his family and like that. And one day he was telling me that, well, he was the boys' athletic coach. And he told me that one day when he got to his office, there were some chickens in his office. So he thought that they had belonged to this certain farmer who sold eggs not too far from the school. And so he thought, oh, it's a joke. Well, it apparently was a joke. I just don't know where the chickens came from. But anyway, so he took them home and let his daughter, I don't know, there weren't too many of them. It wasn't like a flock of them or anything, maybe 3 of them or something like that. And anyway, so he let his daughter have them for pets.
they make great pets. They're really fun. Even these little roosters, they were not an aggressive breed, so they were just fun, you know. And I learned so much about chickens from them because they just had interesting personalities, you know.
So anyway, so the daughter had the 3 chickens, and she gave them names. And one day when the family sat down to Thanksgiving dinner, his daughter asked him if he had seen Rosie, the chicken whose name is Rosie. She said, I can't find her anywhere. And he goes, you're eating her. He said the whole rest of the whole family got mad at him. They got up and left the room.
Was he being serious?
Well, he didn't tell me he was joking.
Yeah.
And she was missing.
Yeah.
So
I know that's kind of a sad way to tell your daughter that you've killed her pet.
I know, and it almost seems like, well, we had some chickens when I was first with my husband. We went and got, just a few chickens. They were already full grown. And we were getting some eggs. I wasn't vegan. I was a long way from being vegan yet. And some friends of ours had some neighbors who had some chickens for their kids. And it wasn't, well, anyway, they said the kids were getting rashes, so they figured they figured the kids were allergic. So our friends asked us if we wanted their neighbors' chickens, so we said okay. And wouldn't you know it, we wound up getting scabies.
Really? I
Yes,
wonder there's
that's why
something wrong with their chickens.
That's
Yeah.
why the kids were getting rashes. They weren't allergic to the chickens.
Okay, there's some disease.
They
had.
were.
Yeah.
It was a parasite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so.
Wow.
I mean, don't let anybody give you chickens.
Well, you have to know where you're getting your source from. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were agreeing to. So.
Yeah.
So. So, anyways, would you like to talk about any of your recipes?
Well, I could. And one thing I wanted to mention that I almost forgot to mention is that one of the things that I do with people is work with them if they're looking for some coaching on how to even start with this. Mm-hmm. You know, and I want to encourage people because it's easy to feel very overwhelmed mm-hmm. when you're looking at this way of eating and like, how do I even start? What do I do? And so on my website, I do offer that as an option for people, is to get some one-on-one coaching on ways to implement some of these healthy habits into what they're already doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just starts with one habit, mm-hmm. you know, and like, so for example, you could start with just adding a salad once mm-hmm. a day, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And making gradual changes to get healthier rather than looking at the big picture and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to change everything all at once.
Actually, I did not do everything all at once because I did not go totally plant-based until I was in my early 50s. But I started at 25 with giving up the meat. And then there was another thing too. When I first knew my husband, mm-hmm. he was baking all his own whole grain bread. Mm-hmm. And he taught me how to bake bread.
Yeah.
So, so then I was eating healthier bread, and I had quit eating meat, and then over the years, as I learned things about different kinds of food, mm-hmm. I would eliminate that from my diet. And then as I found out about foods that I'd never heard of before,
you added those in.
Then I included those. So it was over the course of at least 25 years that I did that. And there would always be, you know, for like with first just giving up the meat, I noticed benefits from that. Mm-hmm. But then you go through certain things in life, like perimenopause, and then you might change something there.
Yeah.
And because of that, you know, and then you're just trying these different things. And
you find what works, and you stick with that. And what doesn't work, then you tweak it and figure out a way to make something else work. But yeah, so I don't want people to feel like and I always, you know, even in the cookbook, you know, I encourage people, like, if they're not ready to make that step to go completely vegan, that's okay. Like, but add more plants into your mm-hmm. diet. You know, mm-hmm. like maybe make 1 or 2 meals a week a meatless meal, and just kind of dip your toes in. And so, for example, now I'm blessed with a family who will eat anything that mm-hmm. I put in front of them. Now, mm-hmm. they may not like everything, but they'll eat it. Mm-hmm. And if they really hate it, then, you know, I won't make it again. Mm-hmm. But I have just made small changes. So one of the things that I have done is, like, I don't use oils in my cooking. But for somebody who does use a lot of oil, that can seem very overwhelming to just say, I'm cutting it all out. Mm-hmm. So what I would suggest is start with something small, like when you're sauteing vegetables, rather than use oil to saute, get a good nonstick pan and put your pan on low, and, you know, do your onions like you normally would saute them, or your celery or whatever it is, but use a little bit of water if it starts to stick, as opposed to just, you know, liberally putting oil all over everything, because you're saving yourself like 120 calories per tablespoon. And when I used to use oil in my cooking, in sauteing, I certainly didn't just use a tablespoon of oil. I would probably mm-hmm. use like 4 or 5.
Right.
And so those are the type of changes I suggest to people, is just start small. If if it seems overwhelming. Now I when I went this way, I just went all in, but not everybody can do that nor wants to. So you start with your small little steps of change,
Right.
and then over time, like
Right.
you found,
Yeah,
all of a sudden your whole lifestyle has changed.
It was easy that way.
Yeah.
And besides that, I didn't know about the vegan perspective either.
Yeah.
This one herbalist who isn't in our area anymore, but I remember learning stuff from her, and she said something about if you really, really feel you can't give up eating meat, just cut back and sprinkle some pieces on top of your salad or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and that's right. You learn how to just make adjustments. And one of, you had asked me about a recipe. It's not in this cookbook, but it is on my website. One of the things that I've discovered is, like, for example, I love pesto. I always have, but now pesto is traditionally made with, it's got olive oil in it, but it also has Parmesan or Romano cheese.
Oh, yeah.
And which I used to love. I love cheese, And so when I started eating this way and started playing around with recipes and getting more comfortable and experimenting, one of the things I've discovered is that I can make pesto, but I make it with a little bit of tofu, and it actually has that same taste as the cheese.
Really?
All the ingredients together. Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you put nutritional yeast flakes?
Nope, I don't even use the nutritional yeast. Traditional pesto has pine nuts in it, and it has garlic, it has basil. It would have the cheese and some olive oil and salt and pepper. That's it. And lemon juice. So what I do instead is I still do the pine nuts, or sometimes I'll use sunflower seeds, and I toast them in a dry pan to draw out the flavor. And then I use garlic, and I use the basil, but then I use about 1/4 of a block of extra firm tofu and lemon juice and some pepper, and I do use a little bit of salt, and I can't tell the difference, and my family hasn't been able to tell the difference either. And it's amazing to me that there are foods out there that in certain combinations will give you that same taste you're looking for, but it's a much healthier version.
Yeah, I do know that lemon juice can help with the flavor of foods. Yeah.
And lemon juice has a natural, it almost mimics salt in some things.
Yeah.
So you learn those type of things.
It's a little bit salty tasting. Yeah.
So that recipe is on my blog on the website, thefrugalconnection.com.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm working on a second cookbook, so I'm hoping, I've accumulated enough recipes over the last 2 years that I'm kind of getting ready to start working on the second one.
Oh, good. That's good. I don't know what people think about those of us on a plant-based diet. It's almost like maybe they're thinking all we eat is vegetables, but it's like somebody over the last year or so says she knows it's probably healthy to eat a completely plant-based diet, but she says, I can't imagine putting a meal together.
Yeah, if you're not, I didn't find it difficult, but that's because I love to cook. So that's some of the reason I started the YouTube channel, was to show people it really is easy once you do it, and and that's why, and there's tons of recipes you can find from plant-based recipes. Just Googling it online, you know what I mean? So there's options for you, and it really isn't that difficult. Like, for example, let's just take a a recipe that people love, which is chili, right? So we're used to chili with meat in it, but it's already got the beans in it and everything else. So what I do when I make the chili, I make it the way I've always made it. The only thing that's missing in it is the meat. And people love it. It still tastes like chili.
Well, you know what we get? We get what's known as textured vegetable protein, which is made out of soybeans. And that, if you put that in, because then it like kind of has the texture of ground beef.
Yeah.
And you can feed it to people and they probably won't.
No, because like in chili, what is the flavoring of chili? The meat has zero flavor. If you just had the meat by itself with no seasoning, with no salt, no pepper, no chili powder, cumin, all the things that we put in chili. So if you just remove the meat and yet you still have all those flavors, it tastes like normal chili.
Because it's the seasonings and like that they're tasting.
Right.
And chili is made with tomatoes.
And I have tomatoes in mine.
And most people like tomatoes.
Yeah, onions, garlic, peppers, the whole works. Sometimes I'll add different things in, but yeah, so I think you start with recipes that are fairly adaptable if you're just starting this way. So, and soups are an easy one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because like people eat, like sometimes people eat lentil soups or minestrone soup, the soups that we already eat that don't necessarily have meat in them, and so you just start adding those on here or there, and over time you'll find you'll have accumulated quite a few recipes that the next thing you know, you have like, oh, here's a week's worth of meals, and the more comfortable you get with this way of cooking and eating, you find other recipes, and you'll find over time that it's.
And then if you feel like you don't have a lot of time, like you can't do something like that every day, you can make a big batch of something and eat it all week.
Yeah, and that's what I do. That's what I do.
So,
a potato bar, that's another great thing to...
Oh, with toppings?
Yeah, with just different toppings. Like you could do, make a side thing of chili, and then you do a big baked potato, and you put the chili on that. And so these are some ways that you can kind of incorporate this way of eating into your diet with things that are fairly familiar. So especially if you're trying to get family to eat this way, you find things that they can, like tacos. That's another thing.
Yeah, I know one time somebody brought something to one of our veggie dinners that she called deviled potatoes. And it was, it was kind of like, supposed to be kind of like deviled eggs, except it was the potatoes instead of the eggs with plant-based filling.
Okay.
And it was kind of like twice baked potatoes, except that all of the ingredients were plant-based.
Right. And you get more comfortable with it when you cook this way over time, and find ways to kind of make some family favorites, but just tweak them. Like my family loves ramen. Like a big bowl of, but I use vegetable broth as opposed to chicken broth. I use tofu in it instead of meat, and different things like that, and they love it. So
yeah, I remember one man telling me one time he was at some sort of an event. I don't know if he said it was a wedding reception or what, but somebody had made a recipe with eggplant. I think it might have, quite often eggplant, it's like a tomato sauce, a recipe that includes tomato sauce. And he said him and another man kept trying to guess what kind of meat that was in the recipe. What they were eating was the eggplant, but they thought it was meat. And so they kept trying to guess, and they finally asked a server, what kind of meat is this? And the person told them, it's not meat, it's eggplant.
Wow.
So,
there's some foods that mimic the texture of meat. So
Yeah.
and there's some that I haven't tried that I've heard about, like jackfruit is supposed to be one. And
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
I think I had some of that just once. I remember, I found it in the store. It was on clearance sale, and it was good. You know, it was good. But you think of something called jackfruit, it sounds like you're talking about fruit. I mean, well, it probably is, but it's
just
something.
it's just got a texture.
It's something
that's
about
meat-like.
the texture. Yeah.
I did try recently seitan.
Oh.
And I will not try that again because the taste wasn't the problem, and it did really was very meat-like. In fact, I was at a conference and I told them, you know, they asked about dietary things, and I said, well, I'm a vegan. So they said, okay, we'll adjust. And so they brought out this plate, and I thought it was roast beef.
Oh, really?
It looked like roast beef.
And it was seitan.
And it had some gravy on it, and it actually had the texture of roast beef. In fact, I kept thinking, I said to the guy, is this the plant, this is vegan, right? And he said, oh yeah. But it really messed with my digestive system, and I did read that some people will have that reaction to it.
What it is gluten.
Yeah.
So if you have a gluten sensitivity, you don't want to eat seitan. But my husband really likes seitan.
Okay.
We live here in Mayville, and we cannot get certain things like that in Mayville. But when we go to Wegmans approximately once a month, he'll always buy some seitan because he really, really likes it. But
no, it definitely did not. I did not set well with me. I didn't feel good for a couple of days after that.
Oh, really?
And I think it's like I don't normally have a gluten issue, but it's vital gluten. So I mean, it's like they strip it down, and it's
that's all that's left is the gluten, and it's not a whole food anymore.
No. So I avoid those. I just stick with the whole stuff.
Stick with what agrees with you. Well, everybody's different.
Yeah.
You know, we all have different sensitivities and things. So, but my husband does like that a lot. He likes it when we make a batch of tomato sauce.
Yeah, and he probably likes it because it really is, the texture is very much like meat. Mm-hmm. You know, it was very different. I was like, wow, this is like really meat-like.
Yeah, it kind of is. And to me, it tastes good. But I don't have to have it. I don't crave it, you know. I mean, we're not eating it every day. So, and then there's things like tempeh too. There's a lot of soy.
I do like tempeh, yeah.
There are a lot of different soy products. Somebody told me a couple of years ago that he and his wife had just found out that his wife is allergic to soy, and he goes, and they put it in everything these days. He's going, well, the trick is make things from scratch yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing of it. People, you know, don't want to. Don't want to make things from scratch. Yeah. So if you're thinking that they're putting soy in everything.
Yeah. So then I cook everything from scratch. So to me it's
then
not
you're
hard.
not. Then if you know, if you think like that.
Yeah.
Then we know you're not, that you're not cooking from scratch if you think that they put soy in.
Right, but even things you wouldn't expect, you know what I mean? So like sometimes there's, like for example, my daughter has severe nut allergies.
Oh, did she?
And there were times things that you wouldn't even expect peanuts to be in, like it turned out there was a recall on cumin because the powder. So it's just a spice.
Oh, well, that was the brand name, you mean?
No, cumin was the spice.
Cumin.
But what was happening was that they had processed it all on the same equipment, and it turns out it had nuts in it. So if you're not expecting that, you know, and you use it in your cooking, even if you're cooking from scratch, and you have an allergy to it, it can be challenging.
Yeah, the only thing that I know of that I'm allergic to is kiwi fruit.
Okay.
I discovered this because, well, I didn't think much of it the first time it happened. But basically, it was along about the third time. You know, I get sick to my stomach every time I eat kiwi fruit. So, I mean, it would be like I would eat some kiwi fruit, and after half an hour, I'd start feeling nauseous. And the nauseous feeling would keep increasing over a certain period of time until I finally it would I would throw up. I mean, it was something I didn't have any control over. I wasn't deliberately throwing it up, but it would just when I get so extremely nauseous, it would just finally come up.
Yeah.
So, but that's the only thing I really know of. I mean, there's a certain small amount of things that I definitely don't like the texture of or something like that. I'm not a fan of quinoa, but my husband thinks we should eat it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not a quinoa. I mean, I'll eat it because it is very high in protein and I think I forgot what the other one was, but whatever it is, I'll eat it and I don't hate it, but I'm just not, it's not my favorite. You know, I just think it's.
I'd really rather have some whole grain rice.
Me too.
You know, really, and there's something else that I've never really liked, and for quite a few years, it was in our garden. Either my husband or an uncle of his planted it there, and that is, and the flowers on it are very pretty, and that is Jerusalem artichokes.
I've never had those.
Haven't you?
No. Yeah.
And especially if they're cooked, they taste really gross. And, well, they're really hard to clean and everything, too, before you prepare them. But I can just, eventually, they just, after quite a few years, they eventually just died off. I just never really liked the taste of those.
I haven't found too many things I don't like, you know, fruits and vegetables, and I think I'm a foodie, so I like all kinds of food, and that was probably part of the reason I got as heavy as I did at one point. But I just like all kinds of fruits, all kinds of vegetables. You know, I'm trying to be a little more adventurous, so I've tried, recently I made garlic scape and carrot top pesto. Oh, and my husband, was excellent.
My husband grows garlic every year, so we always have our own garlic supply.
Yeah.
And in the spring, we go out and dig up ramps, which most of the people around here call leeks, you know, out in the woods. We love those. A lot of people don't like the smell, but I love the smell.
I know. I've just tried ramps for the first time, too. I like those as well.
and the smell of them, I like this. I mean, you only get it in the spring.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really a lot
and
of...
dandelion greens are good.
Oh, yeah.
I've been adventurous lately. And I get all this at the local farmer's market, so I've been buying different things.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to mention here is that when you go completely plant-based, you learn that there are so many foods you've never even heard of. And you actually have a wider variety of food to choose from when you go completely plant-based than if you're a meat eater or anything like that.
Like I've just recently, over the last year and a half or so, tried wheat berries. And I love wheat berries now because it's basically the actual red wheat that you can grind into flour, but if you cook them, you can make them into salads, and it's a chewy texture, which I really like, and it's a grain. So yeah, I've learned to like experiment.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much for appearing on Fresh Perspectives again. It's been a lot of fun visiting with you, and I'll see those of you in the viewing audience when I do the next episode.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.